And on that view, we'll have a bunch of different colored bars. And each color indicates a different type of data, whether you have sleep data for that day, whether you have stress data for that day, whether you logged food or hydration, all different kinds of data. Green bars means you logged intentional exercise, like you started an activity. And literally all I care about for like 98% of people I talk to about their data is how many green bars did you string together without a gap, without like missing a week where like life got in the way and you just didn't train.
Team, welcome to another episode of the MOPs MOEs podcast. This week coming to you live with just the two of us. And when going back and forth about what to discuss prior to discussing what we came here to discuss, you revealed to me that there's some news. It's a big news day, first of all. It's the 2nd of April. There's been some, key figures that have been...
There's a lot of big events going on lately, but we're not really going to discuss any of those.
Very kinetic environment.
You'll be hearing this episode like 4-ish weeks from when we recorded it. So like, who knows?
Who knows, man?
But to bring you back to like the date where we're talking,
let's come Artemis back to early 2, April.
Artemis 2 launched yesterday. That was pretty sweet.
Yeah.
Pam Bondi got fired this morning.
That happened.
General George got fired midday, maybe early afternoon.
That happened.
Just a lot going on. That is not the topic I think is worth discussing here. We're going to stay away from like real news.
I don't know what you're about to say.
We're bringing the Second Amendment back to military bases. Service members will be authorized to carry personally owned firearms on our bases.
Wait, really?
For real. You can go watch the video.
I just heard that live. So wait, I'm going to Google this.
Yep, Drew gets to. It's fun to like. I asked him before we recorded like what news he was tracking for today, so I knew this one would be a surprise to him.
So you want me to Google soldiers, personal firearms, military bases?
I mean, that will probably bring it up since it's Department of War wide.
Off-duty service members to carry. What is the point of that?
So I think the logic, as the Secretary of War describes it, is that service members should have the rights that they protect for others. My immediate thought processes, and I posted some of this on the Instagram, and people seem to share the same thought process as I do. How long is it going to be before something bad happens? And
I mean, can't be that long.
I think if you're outside the military, it may be surprising to think this is an issue. Like you're like, oh, they're soldiers and service members. Like, of course they carry guns around. That's what they do. No,
that's not how this works.
It's actually like surprisingly tightly controlled when people have access to weapons, and particularly when people have access to live ammunition is very strictly controlled on military installations. Now, some folks on Reddit have been making the point that like gate checks are not actually that thorough. And often when people's cars are searched at the gate or motorcycles are searched at the gate, they don't search the person. Fascinating. And that wants to talk about there in terms of security of our installations. Who knows? Conversation for another day. I posted the desktop clip from the other guys already on Instagram because that's one of my first thoughts is like,
yeah, that's good. That's a good one.
I think more people are worried about something going down in the barracks though.
Well, to be clear, this is off duty, right? So you're not going to have a bunch of like on duty folks just strapped walking around. Was this high on the list of requests, or are we just like our barracks still
I don't
moldy?
know if people were asking for this. This one seemed out of left field. You do have to wonder like if they can have it on base, and especially if they allow it in the barracks. So who knows if that's going to be the case or not. This one's going to end up being up to individual installation commanders.
Man, what an interesting...
If they can have it in the barrack, like that means it would be like fairly easy to like keep it in your car right outside the office, or like me thinking, if you're a commander about to do like an Article 15 reading for a guy who's got disciplinary issues already, like, do you need to now bring security? Like, I don't know.
I mean,
who knows?
I
Hopefully
think,
nothing bad happens. Hopefully everything's fine. We'll
yeah,
see.
that's, man, guys, that was like real time. I didn't know this was a thing. This was not even on my radar. I mean, I'm reading the official announcement. Didn't realize war.gov was the website now.
Sure.
Interesting. Yeah, the justification seems to be predicated upon the fact that we have had active shooter events on installations, and presumably if guys were walking around just like strapped, they could have fought back. But like, there's already guns on installations that they could use to fight. I don't know, man. That's interesting. Wow. Cool. Okay. That's cool. Cool. Do the barracks still have mold?
There were posts on Reddit about like now they can shoot the mold.
Okay. Wait, that's true. You could. Fair point. Maybe, this is one of those chess moves. We're thinking checkers. This is chess. Speaking of change, there's a transition for you. Speaking of
Things
change.
are changing.
Things are changing. This week, like I said, you just have the two of us. There's no guests.
You were like challenged to discuss this topic.
I was
right?
challenged. Yeah. So I was talking to somebody, a listener of the show. We were talking about like training and stuff. And listener of the show sounds like a weird thing to say. Anyway, talking about training, and the question was posed: how has your coaching changed since you started doing this podcast? Which I had never really thought about before. But then when I was asked that, I immediately kind of went back to where we were when we started and where we are now and how things have changed. And I think my perspective shift on coaching is something that I'm kind of exploring in real time. So it was a very timely question. And I think I actually told him that. So a lot of my answers to that we'll go through here in a little bit, I think tie into some of those things. But point being, to fast forward, I talked to you about that, and I was like, hey, this could potentially be a really interesting conversation. So for the purposes of tonight, now that you've done your homework, we've put some guardrails around this. So we've got three large categories, right? We've got coaching, training. So like coaching of others, or just the philosophy around the coaching of others, training for ourselves, how we ourselves train, and then kind of a catch-all bucket, which I have called just like other or personal. I think the other night when we were brainstorming, we were looking at some other different things. We had a lot more categories, but we've simplified it. I don't know what you have. You don't know what I have. Mm-hmm. So we're not doing the shared Google Doc thing that we normally do. But I don't know if you have any other thoughts before we kick things off.
I mean, my only opening thought, the question you were asked was, how has your coaching changed? So that was like the initial approach to this topic. Mm-hmm. And I've made this disclaimer before. I don't really self-identify as a coach. I do work with and around a lot of coaches. I spend a lot of time talking about coaching. But like professionally speaking, I try to like bureaucratically create spaces where coaches get to like do their thing. And that means I mostly do emails and spreadsheets. So like,
well said.
Do I dabble in some coaching? Yeah, a little bit. Like I'll like jump in if somebody needs a coach and like nobody else is available, or I'll run a session if people are out or the office or whatever. But that is not my like day in, day out life I live. So I will answer the coaching portion of the question, but I think I have a little more on like how I personally train. And then maybe like some personal stuff outside of coaching. But yeah.
But you philosophize about coaching.
If people listening to this, like yes, I philosophize about coaching for sure. But we like deliver training programs. Like if you are doing one of those training programs, that's Drew. Like Drew is the head coach of MOPs.
Well, no, give John some credit. John does some of that too.
That's true. If you're doing injury related stuff or rehab related stuff, yeah, that's fair.
But we do all talk about it. Like I don't want you to sell yourself short. Yeah, that's for you. But I understand what you're hedging against, which is just a comment section full of pissed off powerlifters who are like, "You're not a fucking coach." Which, you know, you probably aren't going to like me either, quite frankly, after we have this conversation.
Here we go.
So and we haven't yet explored these things, but what I did, some creative thinking on my part, I actually provided 2 answers to each one of these. One thing that I doubled down on and one thing that I've changed my mind on.
Oh, nice model.
Yeah, you like that?
I was thinking about that actually right as we hit record.
Yeah, ask myself the same question we so frequently ask others. So I have, for example, something I've doubled down on when it comes to coaching, something I've changed my mind on. Same with training. And then the personal other one is kind of an amalgamation of some of those 2 things, but it's a little bit more broad. So where do you want to start? What do you want to do first? We'll see where this goes.
Let's start with coaching. I'll do a mini preamble because this is not actually something I've like changed my mind on or doubled down on. Just to say that, like, if you have followed the MOPs MOEs social media or the podcast from the beginning, you have gotten to witness me going on a Dunning-Kruger journey. And that's like essentially how I met Drew. Is I was at the peak of Mount Stupid. I had just gotten my CSCS. I was like, oh shit, like I know some stuff now. And Drew was like, hey, listen.
You make me sound like I'm gonna get this movie wrong, this reference, but what isn't it like a it's a Star Wars. It's the one where she's like she get like the closing scene, she's like on the island and then all of a sudden like an old Luke Skywalker appears. Isn't that Star Wars? Somebody corrected or somebody gave me kudos in Discord the other day. Red Dawn was the reference I was trying to make. So I appreciate that. So maybe this one goes out to the Discord team. Like I'm fairly certain that was Star Wars. I think Luke Skywalker showed up. Point being, yeah, you were lost in the wilderness and I told you that you were wrong about everything and here we are.
Or I think you made me realize that I was much closer to the beginning of a journey.
You give me way more credit than I think I'm deserving of. I sound like a freaking guru.
I mean,
you have only
you had the Soft American out. You had a bunch of like textbooks, and like on like the best part, you had a bunch of textbooks on your shelf, several of which I had read. Yep. And so I thought we were going to have like a moment. I was like, oh, I love that one. Like he talks about that, and you're like, yeah, those are all bullshit.
They're all wrong. Yeah,
that's exactly what you said.
I'll be upfront with people. I have a bookshelf with a lot of training books. I either A, haven't read most of them, and if you're telling me you've read Super Training, you're lying. That's not to you. That's to people listening. You're lying to yourself. And 2, correct. They are wrong. However, I will preface that with saying that I have only ever had 2 quotes on my desk. In this case, they're on top of my bookshelf. And one of those quotes is actually from the Dalai Lama, and it says, know the rules well, so you can break them effectively. The only way to know the rules is to read the book. So there you go.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway,
that was my preamble. Do you want to go with the first thing, or do you want mine?
No, you go first. What is? Well, you didn't do the double down, change your mind thing, did you?
Not quite. I think some of mine fit into that.
Okay.
So this first one is like if you ask me to give a coaching one, it'll be a change my mind one.
Okay, go do that. What's something you've changed your mind on?
So when I came into this, I was obviously pretty new. And so the things I thought were important were the things everybody was talking about as though they were important. And where I changed my mind is I have become somewhat obsessed with comparing effect sizes of like things people act like are very, very important and things people tend to ignore. Primarily because it's the things people tend to ignore that usually have the largest effect sizes. Like I did a post a while back because a lot of the coaching that I end up doing is very much like lifestyle and habit stuff rather than like strength and conditioning. And so like how things affect health and how things affect mortality, let's compare effect sizes. Everybody knows smoking is bad for you. Smoking is not nearly as bad for you as having poor cardiorespiratory fitness. Like just being slow and not doing cardio is way worse for you than smoking is. And everybody knows alcohol is bad for you. Not nearly as bad for you as not getting enough sleep is. Like if I have to pick levers to pull to get people better outcomes, people might be surprised by which levers I prioritize as more likely to make a difference and more likely for them to actually like follow through with that habit. Processed food is the thing everybody's going nuts about right now. Like, check it out, man. The amount of processed food you eat does have an impact on your long-term health outcomes. It's just a pretty small one compared to a lot of other things. You want to have a really big dietary impact on your long-term health outcomes, eat more vegetables. Like, keep eating all the processed food you're eating, just eat more vegetables.
Fiber.
It's all about fiber, baby. That's what it is.
There we go. Yeah.
Like, in the nutrition domain,
eat more vegetables.
Fiber drives out like protein, kind of cool. Fiber, crazy cool.
It's a hint of things to come. That's something you said you've changed your mind on?
Yeah, I was initially caught up on all the ones that people normally talk about. I've gradually realized that the things people treat as important may or may not be.
This is maybe this will come as no surprise to people. My changed my mind thing for coaching is almost exactly the same thing. And this is, I mean, for me, this is current. Well, I should back up. This is why I really wanted to have Michael Blevins come on, because he gave me just, I mean, and I mentioned I followed his stuff for a long time, but like he, in a lot of ways, has given me a language to like explain some of these things. So the kind of what I wrote was that I think that I've changed my mind on what is like the primary mover for adaptation or achievement with regards to like a training program. So I think in the past, similar to you, I would have, what I said was I would have held to the standard theory that the reps, sets, exercises are what move the needle. But now I think that I'm much more keyed into the fact that the softer skills, so stuff we talk about all the time, buy-in, but even weirder things like belief, sense of purpose, interpersonal relationships, like those carry just as much, if not in some cases more weight when it comes to program success. And I was thinking about this because I was having a conversation with one of the guys I work with today. And I go back to like one of my absolute, we talked about all the books that I haven't read. One of my most read books and one of my favorite training books of all time is called Training Talk. I actually think that someone took it from me and I don't have it anymore because I highlighted it just about everywhere. Martin Bingisser, I think I'm proud, Bingisser wrote this book. It's hard to find, but if you type Training Talk, Hammer Media, you might find it. Anyway, he basically interviews 12 coaches, track and field coaches, and then field-based coaches, and not like your typical American strength coaches, but more of your like European, overseas. We're looking at Rugby World Cup champions. We're looking at like John Kiley's on this one, Anatoly Bondarchuk, Dan Pfaff, Vern Gambett. Like, if you know, you know, like ball knowers, basically. Anyway, growing up in this space and reading these guys.
I'm still doing ball knowers. Sorry, continue.
Ball knowers. That's it. Yeah. If you know ball, you know ball. The point is, I would read these guys' like stuff and always think to myself, like, this is all great, but like, what do you program on Monday? Like, what does Tuesday look like? What movements are you giving your athletes? Because that's what's important. And the longer we've been doing this, the more people we've talked to, I think back to those like internal dialogue moments. And it's like, no shit. It's because that stuff doesn't really matter all that much. What these guys are talking about is building buy-in, like establishing a culture, setting the foundation for success. Because if you don't do that, and we see this a lot with coaches, right? It's like,
do you remember the early days of when we were working together? Like, if I posted that like periodization is overrated, people would lose their minds.
Yeah, for sure.
And like one of the funniest moments for me, because I have to, like, you've like queued up 2 stories for me that I feel like I have to tell.
I knew this would happen. That's why I limited what we could talk about.
It was smart. One of the craziest moments for me, I won't identify like the other people or the forum, but like I was asked to participate in a forum, closed door, where a lot of the people whose like work I've looked up to or whose research I've read for the last like decade were like other participants in the forum, right? Like decisions were being made about the future of like military human performance kind of stuff. I was a little bit shocked to be in there. I think I might have been the youngest person in there. I'm hyping myself a little bit, but and in that room, I tested the waters of like, I don't think periodization is really anywhere on the radar of things that matter in military human performance. And they all just agreed. Like, that's what they all already think. And that was like blasphemy around people who were like coaches on the ground in a lot of spaces early on. Like, that was the craziest thing to say. And the other one, because I don't want to forget it, you talked about like finding purpose, finding meaning, like connection, buy-in, whatever. And this is just like a shameless plug for Nate.
Deserving though. Shout out Nate.
Yeah.
Nate gets it. He's a ball knower, dude. He gets it.
He's a ball knower. It was like PT hour. It was like 6:30 or something. And I'm going for a run with like a senior leader on the base who I needed to work on his running and asked to go for a run. I'm like, all right, cool. And as we're on this run, it's like this NCO that I like vaguely recognize, but don't really remember, like cruises up next to us on the run. Doesn't actually like remember my name. He knows who I am, but he thought I was Andrew, not Alex. But he comes up, he's like, is it Coach Andrew? I was like, no, like it's Alex, and like not really a coach, or whatever.
Right.
But he's like, I just got to say thank you. I'm like, okay, what? And he's like, I went to Coach Nate months ago. I had just gotten some blood work back from my provider. I was like pre-diabetic. I was on the wrong path. My wife was pregnant. We were about to have a kid. And like, I knew like things were not set up for success, like health and fitness wise, for where my life was going. And he didn't point out that like Nate gave him like an amazing X's and O's program. He talked about like Nate helping him figure out his why around being a father and like habits that would fit, that would like make the difference for him. And I'm not even sure like how close the back and forth communication was on the program or anything. Like Nate certainly gave him a program, but like this dude genuinely credits Nate with like changing his life. And it was the things he brought up were not X's and O's. It wasn't squats. It wasn't intervals. It wasn't distances. It wasn't any of that stuff. It was the conversation around like, you're about to be the father of a newborn. Here's the things you can do to like set yourself up for success on that. And the rest followed, right? He PR'd his 2-mile run by like 2 minutes. Like that all kind of like took care of itself. Like the actual measurable outcomes followed. But what he mentioned as being impactful were conversations about like career progression and purpose and family.
Yeah. And I think and we've said this before many times, when we started this, the assumption was most of the conversation would be about programming and what does a week look like. And we've done those things, but I think where we are at now, we're much more inclined to recognize the importance of having a conversation with a guy like Michael Blevins, who would speak to some of the more cultural type things. And I think if you're still kind of in the mindset of like, you know, the stereotypical dudes in the comments that argue about the periodization thing, it's like, if all you're thinking about is what's better, front squats or back squats, you're going to miss the forest for the trees in terms of like, you don't actually need any equipment. You don't need any resources. You don't need any funding to like connect with somebody. And people are more likely to PR a 2-mile run off the back of a program that they feel connected to than one that you made look pretty on Excel. So anyway, long-winded, but that's something that I have changed my mind on. Are you prepared for a double down? Do you have a double down?
I haven't another changed my mind, to be honest.
You can go, hey, listen, this was your exercise.
So it's my exercise. You were the one who decided this episode.
I'm saying like your homework. It was your assignment. Like you know, okay. I gave you the paint. You created.
I'm very much playing your game right now.
For sure. Team, this episode of MOPs MOEs is brought to you by Train Heroic. Train Heroic is a reliable, well-designed platform for programming, tracking, and communicating with athletes. If you've been with us for any length of time, you will know that Train Heroic is the platform that we use to power our own training, long and strong, which you can find at our website, mopsandmoes.com. If you're looking for a solid platform to support your own coaching, whether it's your full-time role or a side hustle, Train Heroic is definitely worth checking out. You can use the link in any of our show notes. You can find it in our newsletter, or you can head to our website, mopsandmoes.com/training to get your first week for free.
My next one's on like data for coaching, like what matters in terms of metrics and tracking and things like that. And I think I was pretty stoked on some of the data when I came into this space. You start learning about force plates, and you start learning about HRV, and you start learning about acute to chronic workload ratio, and like whatever, a million different things that you could track and you could decide are important to you to monitor people's progress, like identify risks, see if things are going well, things are going badly, whatever. Even stuff as simple as like there was a phase where I like all about the like 5-3-1 model where you do a top set and see how many reps you can get at that weight, and like you've essentially indirectly calculated a new estimated 1 rep max so you can track if the progress is happening even without doing it. I don't think any of that is that important anymore. I work in an environment where almost everybody has a Garmin device. So I've learned to talk to people using the data they get from their Garmin device. And people want to talk about resting heart rate or HRV or sleep score or VO2 max estimate. And I don't care about any of those almost any of the time. Like VO2 max estimate, mildly interesting if they're working on cardiorespiratory fitness, whatever. The single piece of data I check first every single time, and anybody who's used Garmin will hopefully be familiar with this, but if you go to the home screen of your Garmin app, there's some buttons along the bottom, and the middle one is a little calendar icon. And if you click the calendar icon, it'll bring up a 1-month view. And on that view, we'll have a bunch of different colored bars. And each color indicates a different type of data, whether you have sleep data for that day, whether you have stress data for that day, whether you logged food or hydration, all different kinds of data. Green bars means you logged intentional exercise, like you started an activity. And literally all I care about for like 98% of people I talk to about their data is how many green bars did you string together without a gap, without like missing a week where like life got in the way and you just didn't train. That tells me so much more than any of like the in the weed. Like everybody wants bar speed. Everybody wants like there's like so many things that are like so far past that in terms of getting into the weeds. But if you're working with a population like most of the military where like life is getting in the way a lot, it's just about consistency, and like a calendar of whether you did anything at all or not tells me so much more than your HRV.
I remember that calendar. My Garmin app deleted itself. What does it do when like you stop using the app for a long time and it just like fades away?
Oh, you have it set so like Apple will like undownload it. Yeah.
So my Shark Clip watch doesn't have an app.
Drew's very low tech these days.
It does have night vision though, which means it lights up when I press the light
I don't
button.
think that's what night vision
I know,
is.
but it says on the top, it says night vision, which I think literally is just the light. So I know I gave this whole sermon about what I changed my mind on, and I'm realizing now looking at this that the thing I've doubled down on is pretty X's and O's.
Ooh.
But
good.
Yeah. So the thing I've doubled down on from a coaching standpoint is actually something that we have published a number of times on our platform, and something we're working on right now actually for like a free resource, which is that I have doubled down on the 5, what I call like the 5 pillars of tactical training. So for people that are unaware, and I won't dive super deep into all of these, but I would die on each of these 5 hills. In order for tactical training to be effective, it needs to be concurrent, it needs to be auto-regulated, it needs to be emergent, it needs to be flexible, and it needs to be athlete-centric. So just really quickly what that means, concurrent is kind of the idea of combining endurance and strength. Auto-regulated is basically just setting it up in such a way that it responds to your actual daily readiness versus just here's what you're going to do. Emergent, I kind of made this up myself, but effectively it's this idea of like you program for what's right in front of you and you allow that to inform the next week, the next week, the next week versus here's a 12-week, whatever plan. It needs to be flexible, which is to say that you need to create sessions such that they can be like moved around within, say, a week or a couple of weeks to accommodate like real world scenarios or just like unplanned training events, things like that. And it needs to be athlete centric, which I think gets to what we were just talking about. It needs to be focused on the athlete, not just some like magical bullshit that the coach came up with. There needs to be athlete buy-in. Athlete needs to have contributed to it. They need to believe in it. Yada yada yada. So I think the longer that we've done this and the more athletes that I have worked with, I am running out of reasons why any one of those 5 things should not be included. And I keep running into situations where programs that don't include those 5 things just straight up suck. So not super X's and O's, I guess, but sort of.
Yeah, not that
ish
deep in the X's and O's.
Yeah, but like I said, if you like, I think I've certainly written about that. We actually have a YouTube.
There's
video
a blog.
Yeah, there's a blog. So anyway, there's more there, but I'll leave it at that. Any closing thoughts on coaching?
Just that, like, what's changed more for me is not how I coach because I don't coach that much, but it has changed what I look for in coaches.
That's fair. There you go. Okay, training. So this is training, like our own training, because I think this was kind of your idea, right?
Yeah. And more has changed here for me, for sure.
Okay. Lead us in.
Even if I don't do that much coaching, I do a decent amount of training, and I'm always
you got a lot of green days.
Training.
You got a lot of green days.
A lot of green bars on my Garmin calendar. Yeah.
There you go.
Especially lately.
Good for you.
Had a good string of months here.
And that's related to the thing. A flex. Most people like it's a good couple of days. You're like, man, I've strung together some good years, man. I've been pretty consistent for a long time.
Consistency is a theme of like things that
I know. I have
emerged as important to me.
That is one of mine. So anyway, I'll let you go. Yeah. Sorry, I'll shut up.
Consistency over longer and longer time domains. Yeah. I came into this, and by this I mean like MOPs and MOEs, very much riding like the zone 2 wave and very worried about recovery and like making sure I was like giving my body time to adapt to the training. I remember posting about like, would you be willing to train less if it gave you better outcomes?
Yes.
And I've really done a 180 on that one, to be honest. In the last few months in particular, I have really embraced just being less of a bitch.
Like in life for training?
For training. What I mean by that is like,
wow, didn't see that coming.
One, just training more. Mm-hmm. Because I think so few of us are actually at a place where recovery is the limiter that like it's almost not a real problem. And don't get me wrong, like zone 2 has its place. And like if it allows you to do more than you would have otherwise, 100% do it. Or if it allows a person who's like uncomfortable with endurance training to do some endurance training and ease into it, 100%. Like there's use cases for it. Absolutely. It's just not like a solution to every problem in the cardio domain. I think I run more weekly mileage than a lot of soldiers that are worried about their run time. And I don't really need zone 2 for the most part because I'm not training enough that lowering the intensity does that much for me. Also realizing like, okay to train when you're fatigued, embracing the fact that like, just because your performance during that training session is not amazing, that doesn't mean that training session wasn't contributing to performance down the line. Embrace, like, I don't know. Yeah. I am less concerned with recovery than I used to be and more concerned with, are you doing enough in the first place to really talk about recovery? My finding for myself, at least, has been like in the strength space, if I want to get better at it significantly, I have to touch it twice a week. And that means like more total body stuff. So I can hit the same movements enough times in the week to make progress on them. I made a lot of excuses like in the last couple of years of like, I'm just like a skinny, smaller guy. I'm not built for certain things. I'm not going to be able to achieve certain numbers.
You're beautiful.
And I think just like, again, not being a bitch, just like actually just train hard and find out.
Train hard and find out. I like that.
It's worked out really well for me lately.
Thafo. That'd be a good shirt. Thafo. That'd be like a Mike Tyson. Thafo.
It's stuff we talked about all the time. Like we've done all these episodes on like hybrid training and like fatigue management and consolidation of stressors and like getting better at two things at the same time. And I think I had kind of accepted for myself that I was going to like get better at one thing and put the other on maintenance mode a lot. Like either I was like really focusing on strength and like cardio was going to go on maintenance mode, aka the winter, or I was going to put a lot of energy into endurance stuff and strength was going to go on maintenance mode, aka the summer. And I finally kind of like walked into a place where I'm getting better at both at the same time. And that was the result of 1, training harder, 2, eating more, and 3, just like embracing trying hard.
What does your, like, keep it brief, but what does your training week look like right now?
My training week looks like 3 to 4 runs a week, depending on whether I get to run club. And like some of it gets weird. Like if I have like a PT session running in the morning.
First rule of run clubs, don't talk about run club.
Oh, like my run club? I talk about my run club all the time.
I'm kidding.
If you're in Colorado Springs, come to Fossil Run Club Mondays at 5:30. Listen.
I love run club.
But like it gets you to try. And like another one is train around other people more.
Yeah,
I'm a person who likes training alone, but you just try harder when other people are there.
That's true. Yes.
It's just reality.
So your training week. So Monday.
Sorry.
No, you're fine. That's my job.
Monday is run club day. I will typically hit a lift earlier in that day, but it'll be a short one. The things I'm trying to make progress on lifting wise are weirdly bench press, overhead press, and deadlift at the moment. Next phase is going to be much more gymnastics-y bullshit, but this phase, it's just getting those numbers up. Depending on whether I worked out on the weekend, Monday might have like a deadlift and bench thing sometime during the workday where I can just get away, knock out some stuff, not get super sweaty, and then run club in the afternoon. Tuesday, I'll hit whatever lift I didn't on Monday. I usually have an easy run on like Tuesday and Thursday mornings because that's when I like am running with people who want to have some coached running during PT. And those people tend to like not be the fastest. So it's usually pretty easy for me. And then Wednesday, maybe rock climbing if I feel like I've done enough already in the week. Otherwise, cleaning up whatever lifts I feel like I haven't touched recently enough. And then I will say on Tuesdays and Thursdays, I often hit, especially Thursday, like a second run later in the day that might be intervals to get some intensity in because the morning runs are so easy. Yeah, like this is getting off the rails, but like short version is I will lift 3 to 4 times a week, depending on how much I get in each of those sessions. Those sessions tend to be shorter than they used to be. Not a lot of accessories, pretty much just core movements. And then, yeah, running Monday, Tuesday, Thursday, and a long one on Saturday-ish.
It's a lot of running.
Yeah, but it's not like no individual run is that long other than the weekend long run.
That's fair. Shout out Fossil Run Club.
Hell yeah.
So that was something you doubled down on? I forget where we started with this.
You were the one who came to this with
Correct.
the model of one you doubled down on, one you changed your mind on.
Right.
I didn't really sort mine that way.
I'm forcing you into this is not athlete-centric on my part. I should give you more freedom on this.
That was frankly, it changed my mind. I moved from being very like recovery-centric to just
not being a bitch.
Training harder. Yeah.
To use your words. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Well, then I suppose I should say, well, actually, you know what? I'll go change my mind. too. So the thing that I have changed my mind on, and actually I know I've said his name already a couple of times here, but Blevins gave me the language for this and actually mentioned this concept. I don't remember if it was in the first episode or the second one, but the idea. So I've changed my mind basically. Now I operate off of this idea that like the relationship with training is just that, it's a relationship, which is kind of weird and esoteric. I think early on, and definitely when I was actually like a full-time 9 to 5 strength coach, I looked at training more as like black and white, like stick to the exercises, do what's on the paper. It's like inputs, outputs. And I would actually describe the creation of training like puzzle pieces and putting, puzzle pieces together. I think where I'm at now with my own training, and I even said like movement more broadly, is like it's much more of an exploration thing. And I'll tell people all the time, like I'm a program hopper. I will stop something and start like all the time. I like trying new things. But I think that it has made it's made training more rewarding, and it allows it to be more fun. Like I've given myself permission, and I'm actually planning to write an article about this for the website. But like basically having permission for training to be fun, for that to be like the main thing, and not, oh, I need to PR my deadlift in 6 weeks. Like I quite frankly, I don't care.
I've become more of an advocate for making military physical training fun too.
Make training fun again. Maybe that should be MITFA. Our acronym game needs work. So yeah, and I think I'm still fit. I don't know.
I did learn like a weird fun fact the other day. It's only an acronym if you pronounce it as a word. If you say the letters one at a time, it's an initialism.
Interesting.
I think I got that right. Somebody in the comments will let me know if I'm wrong.
Initialism? I didn't know that was a thing. Okay, so that's what I changed my mind on. I'll go next. What I doubled down on, and this is kind of, I think, what you were getting at earlier, is basically the way I explained it was consistent, sustainable output beats short bursts of high intensity or quick fixes, like every single time. And I think that came from like growing up in the CrossFit world. Every day had to be hard. Like you took pride in calluses, in soreness, in like injuries in some cases, but like there was no such thing as a recovery. It just was always hard. And that was...
I got a weird question for you.
Please.
I got a comment on a post, I think yesterday, that like strongly tempted me to reply to it, but I've gotten better at not engaging.
Hey, well done. That's something you've changed. Good.
But it was CrossFit related. And the person was saying CrossFit is the best way to train for, I think in this case, it was the Army fitness test. And that got me thinking. I think my biggest concern is it's hard to say whether CrossFit, it's hard to stack CrossFit against other training methods when CrossFit can mean so many different things.
That's
to
what
so
I was going to ask.
People.
Is this capital C CrossFit or like lowercase?
Yeah. Like I don't even know how you would begin to make that argument, because like I ran a 5K an hour ago. 5Ks are in CrossFit sometimes. Was I doing CrossFit when I ran that 5K? The 2 days ago, just because, and this goes back to your question about what does my program look like right now? Realistically, I have less of a program and more of a weekly checklist.
I like that. I'm going to steal that.
Yeah. And I just like to have to check off the things, and I'll like look at what's on my checklist and what I'm most prepared to do that day, or what fits in best with whatever else is going on. And I'll check off what I can. And because of that, I did a workout that I never would have programmed, but checked the boxes, which was work up to a few heavy triples on bench and then run 800s. Because I needed to check off intervals and I needed to check off bench.
Cheeky.
Is that CrossFit? Would it have been CrossFit if I supersetted them? Is it not CrossFit because I did all the bench and then the 800s?
Sounds like a WOD. Sounds like a WOD.
I don't know.
I think, I'll take debate. Like I, as you were talking, I Googled CrossFit's definition of fitness, which work capacity across broad time. And
we've already done this episode, man. It's not unworkable.
I know. But I think if we like allow for that to be true, for a moment, I actually think that I would agree. Granted, he's kind of like shouting from the hilltop unnecessarily, but I think I would agree with what he thinks he's saying, which is that doing a lot of things is better than doing fewer things.
We haven't had Angus Bradley on in a very long time, but train variously.
Yeah, train what we should say is you should vigorously train variously. There you go. Shout out Angus. You can take that one. So by that logic, yeah, I would agree with him. But that is very dependent upon what's in front of you, because if you are competing in the Olympics in weightlifting, you should not be. Mm-hmm. It's not the best thing to prepare you for.
Do not train variously if you're trying to be a good Olympic weightlifter.
Yeah, train very singularly, vigorously. So anyway, without getting derailed,
but is all various training CrossFit?
That's where we've had this conversation. Like, the problem is it's a catch-all. Like, at least High Rocks gives you some like constraints. But I will tell you this, as somebody who worked in CrossFit for a long time and programmed for various CrossFit gyms, you literally just pull it out of your ass. You're like, anything goes.
I'll say, just back to Nate for a second. And this might give some coaches like aneurysms, but most of the unit training we run is circuit training.
You just make it up. Yeah.
And it does frequently involve like assault bikes and or rowers and sleds. Sleds make appearances in a lot of our workouts. Is that CrossFit? Like, I don't think Nate would call it CrossFit, but like,
I think, well, that's the thing. I think the common knock is like CrossFit is everything, but my counter argument would be, okay, well then name a singular thing that CrossFit is then, because you can't do that either. So, I don't know, but yeah, I agree with that guy. I think he should be flicked on the nose though, as well. Like, just hush. But I like the checklist versus.
Were you done with
program.
that? Have you finished your thing? Sorry,
I think so.
That.
No, I think so. I'm taking your checklist idea though, because that's kind of what mine looks like.
It's been working for me for a while here. Like, I don't have certain things on certain days. I don't have a certain program to follow. I just have certain.
I do a shit
things
ton
I
of
have
yoga.
to touch a certain number of times per week.
I do a lot of yoga now. Maybe that's a change.
You've changed. For everybody listening, I got to know Drew during his like Power Man phase.
Cool. Yeah, there you go.
And now he's all about like farm to table food and yoga.
To be clear, I was still that way. I just also felt the need to complete Ironman powerlifting events that I made up. That has changed. Double down on. So I think, I mentioned that short bursts, hindsight. Yeah. The point there was basically, before we got the CrossFit stuff thrown in, like, there was a time kind of when we were starting this thing where you felt as though you needed, like, every time you left the gym, you had to feel like you had, like, paid the man.
When I discovered that you're allowed to do CrossFit at RPE 7, it really changed the game.
It's like you can feel good when you leave. It's okay. So anyway, anything else on training?
I never technically did my second point, but I kind of accidentally did it when I derailed you.
That's okay.
What I put down in my notes was like shifting from spreadsheet multi-month programs to embracing day-to-day fluctuations and just trying to hit specific things frequently enough, which I think I ended up accidentally off the cuff wording it better, which is the checklist approach rather than the program approach.
For sure.
That has worked very well for me. And it does mean sometimes, like, I don't plan rest days ahead of time. Life gives me rest days when they have to happen. So like yesterday ended up being a rest day. I had not planned on it being a rest day, and I did not want it to be a rest day. But like having it happen in the middle of the week may mean that I have to do something more fatigued than I otherwise would later in the week. But that is fine, because the thing I'm trying to achieve is hitting all the checklist boxes in the week more than hitting them super hard on any given day. Yeah.
I think what's interesting, because I agree with you. Like, I've always kind of held to the idea that, especially in the tactical world, like, the deloads are going to naturally occur.
I think people underestimate how much factors outside your control affect your performance on a certain day. Like, within the last week or two, I've had the experience of like hitting a certain weight on deadlift on one day for like a triple, and then coming back a few days later, planning to go heavy, missing a weight that was lighter than the triple I had done, before. And then a few days after that, PRing, like doing a 1RM that was like 20 pounds heavier than what I'd done at the triple. Like the ups and downs, like people get like, I used to get really in my head of like, the estimated 1 rep max on that top set I did was this. And like, does that mean I'm making progress or not making progress? Did I screw everything up? No, don't worry about it. Just like give the effort you have that day and like see how it goes the next time you hit it. And it's probably fun.
Well, and the other thing that I have started to realize is you mentioned like yesterday, you said yesterday was like an off day, recovery day.
Just because of like not getting a workout in during the day and having a podcast to record. Yeah.
But so my point is what I'm realizing, and I haven't like fully fleshed this out, but oftentimes, and I see this in athletes that I coach, those quote unquote rest days that just sort of happen, presumably that's because you have a lot of other shit going on. And what ends up happening in that case is that the stress load on the system is actually in some cases higher than the alleged like work day. So it's just, the point I'm getting at is that a true recovery day for me, when I think about it in the context of like training somebody, is like, hey, not only do I not want you to like lift weights in a lot of cases, but like I want you to actually like actively pursue low stress things. Because the cognitive stress of a super busy day can be just as detrimental is the wrong word, but hopefully you get the point. To the system. So anyway, a topic
I think
for another
based
time.
On my approach, my quote unquote rest days tend to not be that restful because the reason I didn't train is because the day is stressful. Yeah.
That rhymed. Was that on purpose?
That I did not mean for it to, but that came out awesome.
The reason it's not restful is because the day was stressful. There you go. Okay. Anything else on training?
All set.
Okay. And then the last one was just sort of the catch-all. How many do you have for this one?
I only have 2.
2? Okay.
And one's kind of cheesy.
Give me your cheesy one.
My cheesy one, and I called this section like just personal stuff. Probably the biggest thing that's changed as a result of the podcast for me is that the podcast drives my learning and development process. And it in a really cool way. Like if I'll like stumble into a topic that I'm interested in that I hadn't thought about before. And for whatever reason, like if I emailed some of these people and was like, hey, I would just like to have an hour-long conversation with you so I can learn some stuff, they'd be like, no.
Yeah, it's great.
But now I can be like, hey, we would like to invite you on a podcast. And they'll just like give us an hour.
When you phrase it that way.
Yeah, because it is.
You want to come on our pod?
But they'll say yes to that, right?
It's true. And it's true.
We get to have these crazy cool conversations with people who are like essentially just experts in whatever thing we're interested in at the time.
Yeah.
Yes, a bunch of other people get to benefit from it because they also listen to it.
You guys are on this journey with us, team.
It's so cool. And it's like there's no like CEU package or like continuing education course or whatever that could do for me what just like running this has done. It's
funny
really,
you say
really
that.
Cool learning system.
Funny you say that, and I'll throw some shade on the NSCA real quick. No offense if you guys are listening.
I was just there earlier today for the record.
I didn't get any CEUs for hosting this damn podcast. I put it on my freaking sheet and they're like, nah. What? Anyway, I fixed that.
Do you want me to like start some shit? Do you want me to start calling people over there? And
I'm like, I contribute to the world, I think. But it's funny you say that because
I'll do one. They know how I feel about this because I raised this at the meeting with them earlier today. But have you logged into like check your recertification stuff?
I did a month or 2 ago because I thought I had accidentally let my CSCS expire. I hadn't. I'm still eligible.
Well, I was wondering if I had let mine expire, and I went and checked, and it like simultaneously says I am both like ready for recertification, complete with CEUs, and expired. Like it says both. Like it's just not user friendly. I'm sorry. I sent him a message and checked, and I am good. Like I did not expire, and I have completed my CEUs and all that stuff. But like, very confusing. Whatever.
I echo what you said though about and maybe I could actually somehow pigeonhole this into one of the points that I had. But the other day we were asked about what's like, what does your guest list look like? Like, what's the forecast? I think people don't truly understand that we literally invite folks on based on what either one of us is finding interesting at a particular point in time.
Yeah.
And sometimes one of us doesn't find the same thing interesting that the other one does. And you'll say, hey, look at this guy. Like, I don't, what the hell?
Yeah, it happens all the time, more often than not.
But I think we've done a good job giving each other the benefit of the doubt of like, we'll bring him on.
Mm-hmm.
And
yeah,
like, again, Michael Blevins, you'd never even really heard of him.
Yeah.
Didn't, it's great conversation.
Yeah.
But I was thinking about this today, actually, and you got me going on this because I distinctly remember sitting in an entrepreneurship class in business school as a college student, and the teacher explaining to us that like never again in your life will you have the ability to open doors the way you do now with the title student. Mm-hmm. And I think it's the same point you made about kind of having the podcast thing, because it's like, if you are a student, you can go to a lot of these presumably unreachable people, and because you are just there to learn. And it's funny because now in my own just kind of like, I don't know, call it journey of self-discovery, like I will pursue things with the kind of background idea of like, could we bring these people on to talk to? And it's shit that is so disconnected from like reps and sets when we started. Like, here's an example for you. Today, I was listening to a podcast. Michael Pollan was on with, what's his nuts? He does it for the New York Times. You know who I'm talking about? Ezra Klein. And they were talking about consciousness. So I'm listening to this podcast about consciousness, and they reference this study about this whole field of psychology called mind wandering, like just getting into like like human thought. And I was like, man, I wonder if we could tie this into human performance somehow.
You have triggered a thought for me, and I kind of want to take a second and ask the audience for help with something.
Please.
We have a pretty good success ratio of like hitting up particularly researchers. Like if we send a note to researchers because we're interested in their research, they tend to say yes. Because researchers want to talk about their research, like, right? They're looking for platforms to do that all the time.
Mm-hmm.
I have one where I've attempted twice recently to get them on the podcast, and I have not gotten a reply.
Is this the dude at Duke?
No, that one I've tried a million times and not got a reply. Everybody already knows that. This one is University of Pennsylvania. Specifically Dr. Albarracin, if I'm pronouncing that correctly, within the Social Action Lab. It is her lab. I think I sent you the article. It's Determinants of Behavior and Their Efficacy as Targets of Behavioral Change Interventions.
You did send me that, yes.
Fascinating, amazing, super relevant to the stuff being done in military human performance. I sent an email to her, and I sent an email to the two different listed email addresses for the lab, and I've gotten no replies from either, and it has been a month. So if anybody has connections at University of Pennsylvania,
isn't the Tactical Human Performance Lab at UPenn?
I doubt it. I think what you might be thinking of is the resiliency stuff. Oh yeah, Pitt is where the human performance stuff is. Yeah,
UPenn.
Yep.
Penn, aren't they an Ivy League?
Yeah,
lofty towers and all that.
Yeah,
Nittany Lions.
Don't combine UPenn and Penn State. What are you doing?
I mean, it's the same state.
That's offensive to those people.
Sorry. Sorry. Shout out UPenn, Penn State.
You just offended both University of Pennsylvania and Penn State people at the same time.
I can count on like maybe one finger the number of times I've been to Pennsylvania, so I'm not super concerned.
My mom went to UPenn and my fiance went to Penn State. So like you're hitting close to home here.
Closer to home. Sorry. Sorry guys. Sorry, Emily. Okay. So what did we answer on that one? Did you go? You went. You had one.
I had my first one. I have not done my second one. And I have a bonus one to close this one out.
That is unsurprising. I'm gonna go. Something I've doubled down on, and I kind of just spoke to this, but I'll repeat. I'll kind of read what I wrote here. I've doubled down on having a beginner mindset. I don't remember where I stole that from, But effectively, and the way I phrased it was leaning into the vulnerability and potential, quote, embarrassment that comes from having a beginner's mind. So recognizing that everybody's just kind of winging it. And so as a result, you shouldn't be afraid to ask the dumb questions or explore the curious concepts. And I said that because we've had a lot of high ranking people on now. And, inevitably when you work with the military or when you're in the military, like obviously the rank structure, like there is a rank structure, there's a hierarchy for sure. But I think some of that kind of makes you forget that at the end of the day, like these are humans. And I always like to picture, like when we have people on that would potentially make you nervous to talk to, I picture them like shopping in a grocery store. It's like a fun fact of mine, because it makes them a little bit more accessible. And I think if you kind of just go into conversations without ego, without judgment, without some sort of like preconception around what is or isn't fair game, you just kind of start to ask questions, and one question leads to another. And then next thing you know, you're having a conversation. But you can only get there if you come into it with this, so-called beginner mindset. And I think what's interesting is that when you when you start something like a podcast, you kind of you're, whether you realize it or not, you're operating off of the assumption that you know more than anybody. And then I think the further you go, the more you realize that that's actually not true at all. You're better off if you just act like you don't know anything at all, because it creates, I think, more engaging conversation. So my double down on thing for the personal category was just having a beginner's mindset.
While you were talking, I was trying to find a quote, and I cannot find it. All that's coming up is this like not as good version from Bill Buxton. But there's a quote out there somewhere about like always being a beginner at something. Like
it might be the exact same quote that I'm thinking about.
So they don't get as sciencey, but it talks about like it addresses like the neuroplasticity thing of like always practice being a beginner at something because it's good for you, like psychologically, emotionally, whatever. But they also talk about like you will often find that the thing you are a beginner at enhances the thing you're kind of an expert at in unexpected ways. Like it feeds back into it.
For sure.
The quote I also love in the space is the Jake the dog quote. The first sucking at something is the first step to being kind of good at something.
Yeah. I mean, so you talk about being cheesy. This is my cheesy moment. Like that for me, the last, 2-3 years, that's been yoga. Like I started yoga one year. For people that don't know, like the internal joke was New Year's resolution, I'm just going to start doing yoga. Like I was sick of being sore and like my back hurting and stuff. So I was like, I'm just doing yoga. And talking about green bars on your calendar, like now I do it all the time. And like, I'm not great at it, but I enjoy it. It makes me feel better. And I didn't go through my whole training week, but like one of the things I'm trying to learn how to do is just a freestanding handstand from like a push-up position, basically. Like I can do the whole CrossFit handstand thing, but so
are you allowed to go to like a headstand first?
No,
or
I'd like to just straight up go from, I can do that, but I'd like to get to the point.
Are you allowed to go to crow pose first?
That's where I'm at now. I'm going from crow to handstand, but
yeah. When I was doing yoga more often, I had that. I don't know if I could do it right now.
Well, and part of the reason I thought about that too is, again, with strength coaches, it's like, man, you can lift a lot of weight on a barbell. Can you like go upside down and like hold yourself? And I know that's cheeky and douchey, but there's something to it, which I think is interesting.
Talking about just athlete stuff, I still do remember a couple guys from the track team in high school doing like handstand fights, where they would like get in handstands and come at each other and be like kicking each other with their legs while they're in a handstand. Like that's an incredible level of like body control.
It's not.
And they were just doing that in high school.
And that's the thing. I think maybe to put a bow on all of that in a slightly different topic, like I think one of the things that I've changed my mind on is just my definition of like strength and fitness as we've talked to more people in more places. So, okay, your turn.
All right, I'll hit like a fast one because everybody's heard it from us already, and then my bonus one, which is going to be interesting and odd. And it's something I probably shouldn't talk about, but I've decided to send it, and we'll see what happens.
Don't be a bitch, to use your words.
The first one is just shifting emphasis from protein to fiber. Protein's getting way too much love lately. Protein's having a moment. Everybody gets it. Protein's important. But if you go talk to the people who like research protein's influence on like lean mass gains and performance and strength and stuff like that, I think you will find that the dosing they recommend is lower than a lot of the fitness influencers are hyping. I think you will find that they all agree that resistance training has way more impact on the outcomes than protein dosing. I think you will find that most Americans get sufficient protein.
Mm-hmm.
And like, we're missing out on the freaking fruits and vegetables thing. Like,
the fiber of our being, as it were.
Like, don't let everything you eat has like an opportunity cost of the things you didn't eat because you were focusing on that. Don't let a hyperfixation on protein squeeze out like basic healthy diet stuff. That's all. That's pretty straightforward. That's fine. At some point, we'll have like a protein researcher on the podcast. My other one is
this your bonus one?
Yeah, it's a bonus one, and this is gonna get like starting drama or whatever. How do I phrase the lesson that this gives me? Like, sometimes the most popular, loudest people with the biggest platforms are not the people you should be getting your information from. And like, that seems self-explanatory, but I'm going to give an example.
I was going to say, where's the controversy?
Where like, you have to know people that are actually there doing the thing to learn the right lessons. And sorry if you're a big fan of him, but I am about to shit on Matt Wenning in particular.
Who's Matt Wenning? Do I know Matt Wenning?
He's a powerlifter.
Oh.
And my beef, I think he's a good powerlifter, and he probably knows a lot about powerlifting, but he continues to try and capitalize on what he describes as this major involvement he had with Ranger Regiment's physical training, or at least 3rd Battalion, 75th physical training years ago, like 20-ish years ago almost now. We're talking like 2008, 2010 timeframe, I think. And I think he gave like an NSCA tactical presentation on the stuff they did. He was talking about it on a podcast like last week, which is where I saw it most recently. And it's like really interesting stuff if you don't know anything about what actually happened. And I ended up in the comments of that podcast going back and forth with a coach I think is great. He was talking about like, you should go check out what he's doing. Like, what he did with them is exactly what we're trying to do with H2F, like get people strong, reduce injury rates. Cool. But like, I've been lucky enough to bump into and get to know folks who were in Ranger Regiment at that time, and even folks who were present during Matt's visit. And I say visit because that's what it was. He was not like an embedded coach with Ranger Regiment. He like came for a visit and talked about weightlifting. And if that was the end of it, it would just be him overhyping some interaction he had. Numerous sources confirm that during the 500-ish meter walk from the gym to the DFAC, Matt almost like fell out. Like, Matt was almost a casualty, just like walking less than half a mile. Uh-oh. And he lost a lot of people's like interest and respect in his like recommendations about training to be a dismounted infantry force when he couldn't handle like the walk to lunch.
He's a big dude though. I'm not going to say anything negative because I don't want him to kill me.
Oh, he's for sure big, but like, I don't want to like go too much deeper on that because like there's no real value in just like continuing to hammer that one. But like the people who have done a ton of work on improving Ranger Regiment human performance, and like the Ranger Athlete Warrior program and the evolutions that has gone through, like some of them have some public platforms, but like a lot of the people who had like a really big role in that don't have public platforms at all because they aren't interested in that. They're interested in like doing the work and making things better. So like to include us, to include MOPs and MOEs, you should be skeptical of people who are actively seeking a platform for the thing they do. Because sometimes the people who are the best at what they do are just like in the cave doing the thing, not shouting about it outside.
I wonder sometimes if that's like endemic to this industry or if it's the same as obvious in other industries. Because like the fitness space just seems ripe for loud noise and algorithms and followership but
you ever look at like fitness Twitter or fitness threads?
No, although I am on Reddit right now because the heading was "The Tim Kennedy of Powerlifting: Hard Evidence that Matt Winning is a Compulsive Liar."
Ooh,
So, there's a
yikes.
YouTube video, but I'm not going to click it. But anyway,
Damn.
sorry, I just was Googling, who is this guy? Oh, okay.
I do not have Twitter. I do have Threads, but I'm almost never on there.
I don't have Twitter
It
or
is a
Threads.
nightmare.
Isn't Twitter called
minefield?
X
Yeah,
now?
I mean, sure.
Put some respect on that name.
In both cases, though, it is an absolute minefield of terrible fucking information, like really
Twitter?
bad. Both of them.
X? Yeah.
But I will say, I do not recommend using either platform. I don't think they're like mentally healthy spaces to spend time in. But if you do find yourself on Threads, friend of the pod, Jordan Feigenbaum of Barbell Medicine, his presence on Threads is one of the coolest things I have ever seen.
Interesting. I've never looked
the way
him up.
he conducts himself on there is both like savage and empathetic. Like all he does is find posts that are like very obviously completely wrong. And he'll just comment, "What is your evidence for this?" And sometimes these people don't know that it is a trap. Like they don't know that they're talking to like a very well-informed MD and coach.
Who's also strong as shit.
And it's hilarious. He tears him apart. It's so good. Like, I enjoy every time I stumble across a Jordan Feigenbaum comment on there, I know it's going to be a fun time.
This is pretty funny. On that note, if anybody's never been to James Blunt's Twitter account, equally hilarious. The singer. He's like known for basically trolling himself on Twitter, which is
nice.
Okay, I have one more, but I kind of already touched on it. Something I've changed my mind about. And maybe this is a little bit biased because like you mentioned, like having a podcast does give you access to people, but I've changed my mind on inaccessible senior leaders. And I mentioned this already, like, you do have to be respectful of rank and hierarchy and all these kinds of things. But when you drill down to the human, and I think about Colonel King and the conversation we had with him, only because it's the most recent, not because anybody else we've spoken with wasn't equally as accessible. But once you find kind of the human element of the conversation and you realize that we're all just kind of navigating a series of games and trying to do the best we can, I think it opens up a lot of opportunity for like the traditional lessons learned, sure, like the classic leadership lessons, but more so just like what is your experience been like, and like how can we learn, like what can we take from that, like what value does that add to this conversation? So anyway, I think obviously when we started we wouldn't have had access to the people that we have since accessed, but with where we're at now and with how many of these folks we've spoken to, like it's kind of cool to think about. I remember when we logged on and like the Pentagon briefing room.
Pentagon briefing room.
Yeah, it was like on the Zoom call. I was like, oh man, this is kind of. But then again, you talk. It's like, oh, okay, it's like a person. Like, this is just a dude. But it takes a while to, I think, fully realize that because you do get kind of mired down in the hierarchy. So anyway, I think that's everything. More than everything, really. We kind of, as we do, we made jazz music. Any closing thoughts?
Just that I'm going to need your help coming up with a title for this episode.
Yeah, it can't be lame either. You could say Matt Winning is the yeah. Anyway,
I'm going to go watch that video as soon as we get off this call, though.
Yeah, I'm sure. Please let me know what you find because I'm curious. I don't know who he is, but
I already Googled it as soon as you mentioned it, and it's by Atlas Power Shrugged, and he's pretty awesome.
I do.
He loves an internet fight more than I do.
He's a Jordan Feigenbaum guy, former.
Yeah,
I think. Yeah, if I'm thinking the right guy. Anyway, team, thanks for hanging out. Hopefully, at least 5 of you made it this far. I promise we'll bring guests back on. You don't have to listen to us talk the whole time, but thanks for hanging out. Thanks for being part of the journey. Thanks for being part of the whole thing. Here's to many more years. But yeah, see you next week. Hey, Alex, let's cover our ass real quick.
Oh, great idea, Drew. All right, guys. The views and opinions expressed in this program are those of the speakers and do not necessarily reflect the views or positions of any entities they represent.
Thanks for tuning into this week's episode. Before you go, please rate and review the pod on the listening platform of your choice. You can also visit us on our website at www.mopsmos.com. That's MOPS, the letter N, MOEs.com. You can check out the library of podcast episodes, our latest blog entries, any helpful resources, and also sign up for our newsletter.
Drew nailed it. Just to underline a couple of things, the podcast entries have in-depth show notes on the website. So if you missed anything or you want to read any of the research we talk about, it is all there. You can, at the bottom of the website, sign up with your email and receive future updates from us. The blog posts go a little bit more in depth in kind of written form on a couple of topics we get questions about all the time. But most importantly, I just want to ask all you guys, our best way the word gets out is absolutely word of mouth. So tell your friends, tell the people you work with, anybody you think would find it useful. Thanks for spreading the word.
If you have any questions or comments, feel free to shoot us an email at either Drew or Alex at mopsandmos.com.
Or there's a contact form on the website.
Thank you.